Bonjour et merci de vous joindre à nous pour ce point de presse de notre publication trimestrielle. Mon nom est Christina Casper de la Division des communications and I will moderate today's briefing. I'm joined by Jacqueline Friedland, Executive Director, Risk Assessment and Intervention Hub, and Theresa Hinz, Executive Director, Policy Risk Response. Both will provide remarks and will answer your questions, which are for attribution. Before we begin, the session is available in the official language of your choice. Pour commencer, je tiens à préciser que vous pouvez suivre ce point de presse dans la langue officielle de votre choix. To enable simultaneous interpretation, please click on the More button that's at the bottom of your Zoom screen, then Interpretation. Pour accéder à l'interprétation simultanée, cliquez sur le bouton plus situé dans le bas de la fenêtre Zoom et ensuite sur Interprétation. If you select English, you will hear interpretation in English for any French spoken. If you do not want to hear any interpretation, no action is required. Si vous sélectionnez français, vous entendrez l'interprétation en français de tout ce qui est dit en anglais. Si vous ne voulez pas l'activer, vous n'avez rien à faire. We also have slides today. To view the session properly, go to the top right corner of your Zoom screen, click on View and select Side-by-Side Speaker. To follow the presentation in your preferred language, you can toggle between either English and French presentation. Pour bien visionner les diapositives, allez dans le coin supérieur droit de votre écran Zoom, cliquez sur Affichage et sélectionnez Côte à côte intervenant. Ensuite, en haut de l'écran, choisissez soit la présentation en anglais ou soit en français. And now, I will turn it over to Theresa to kick off the session.
Thank you, Christina. Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tout le monde. So my name is Theresa Hinz, as Christina said, and I'm the Executive Director of Policy and Risk Response. As Christina mentioned, I'm joined by my colleague Jacqueline Friedland, who's also going to speak to you about certain policy releases in her area of Risk Assessment and Intervention Hub. I'm speaking to you from Ottawa on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Thank you for joining us for our quarterly release day. Canada's financial system is navigating profound uncertainty, from geopolitical instability and cyber threats to climate change and domestic economic shifts. Over the last 15 years, OSFI played a key role in building resilience in Canada's financial system to support stability and enable sustainable growth. This resilience positions Canada's banks to continue supporting the country's adjustment to a rapidly changing environment. In this quarterly release, OSFI advances smart oversight and regulatory efficiency and reinforces stability through updated capital requirements, rescinding guidance documents, and enhanced supervisory practices. This unlocks capacity for institutions to compete effectively and contribute to economic growth. This quarter, we announced 5 items. First, a consultation on draft capital adequacy requirements, otherwise known as CAR, 2027, to enhance the clarity of our capital rules, improving the consistency of their application, and ensuring that capital requirements continue to be aligned with the underlying risk faced by institutions. Second, the final minimum capital test, Guideline 2026, or MCT, which is amended to reduce compliance burden by simplifying and clarifying requirements while ensuring insurers remain strong and able to protect policyholders. Third, the Supervisory Framework Post-Implementation Review Report. We incorporated industry feedback to refine practices and strengthen oversight. Fourth, insights from the 2025 climate risk returns and updates to certain returns to improve data quality and comparability to help institutions manage climate risks proactively while reducing reporting burden. And finally, additional rescission or removal of documents from OSFI's guidance library. Streamlining our guidance library ensures regulatory expectations remain relevant. These releases show OSFI's commitment to clear and modern guidance that keeps Canada's financial system safe, stable, and ready for the future. Et maintenant en français, dans cette publication trimestrielle, l'objectif met de l'avant un encadrement intelligent et l'efficacité continue de sa réglementation. Nous continuons à renforcer la stabilité de notre système financier en mettant à jour cette exigence capitale, en retirant ce document de notre répertoire de consignes et en veillant à ce que nous attendons de la réglementation demeure claire. Plus précisément, le l'étude de fonds propres, NFP 2027, la version finale de la ligne directrice test du capital minimal, TCM 2026, renouvellement de la carte de surveillance, rapport sur l'examen postérieur à la mise en œuvre, les observations tirées des rêves sur les risques climatiques de 2025 et révision des relèves, et finalement le point d'information sur les politiques, retrait ou suppression de documents de répertoire de consignes de BICIF. Ces mesures aideront nos institutions financières à demeurer compétitives et contribueront à la croissance économique. I'll now turn it over to Jacqueline for her technical presentations.
Thank you. I will start with the consultation on Draft Capital Adequacy Requirements, or CAR Guideline 2027. We have launched a 90-day public consultation on proposed revisions to the Capital Adequacy Requirements Guideline for 2027. The draft includes several important changes, such as lowering the base risk weight for low-rise residential real estate from 150% to 130% to better reflect its lower risk profile. Introducing a 90% risk weight for residential acquisition, development, and construction, known as ADC, projects, both high and low rise, where pre-sales are at least 75%. Introducing a preferential risk weight of 110% for commercial ADC loans with 50% pre-sales or pre-leases up to a loan-to-value ratio of 70%. Allowing institutions to treat ADC projects with loan-to-value ratios below 80% as substantially complete and applying income-producing commercial real estate treatment when a certificate of occupancy has been issued. For corporate exposures, we are lowering the risk weight applied to corporate small and medium-sized enterprise exposures, lowering the risk weight under the credit risk standardized approach for unrated non-investment grade corporate exposures, and for exposures to Canadian systemically important banks, or SIBs, reducing the risk weight for exposures to Canadian SIBs from 20% to 15%. This lower risk weight also applies to covered bonds issued by Canadian SIBs. And for market risk requirements, the proposed revisions touch on credit spreads and maturity assignments for cash equity positions and market risk capital, as well as update ongoing monitoring and approval requirements. These revisions are designed to align capital requirements more closely with the risks by increasing the granularity and the risk sensitivity of the capital treatment, while freeing capacity for institutions to extend credit and support economic growth. The consultation period will end on February 18th, 2026. Next, I will speak about the final minimum capital test, or the MC guideline for 2026. The final MCT guideline introduces updates to modernize the capital requirements framework for property and casualty (P&C) insurers. The updates simplify the unexpired coverage formula for insurance risk to ensure its consistent interpretation, clarifies that only receivables from a certain type of reinsurance arrangement called funds withheld can be included as net assets available for Canadian branches of foreign insurers, removes the requirement for OSFI's prior review on reinsurance arrangements that were subject to an approval for capital purposes in the Branch Adequacy of Assets Test, the BAT, and updates capital confirmation requirement for user fees to improve transparency and align fees with actual service costs. There are also minor adjustments and clarifications that have been made to ensure the accurate and consistent application of the framework. These changes are intended to help ensure that insurers maintain adequate capital to meet obligations and cover potential losses with the guideline that will take effect on January 1, 2026. The next item in today's quarterly release is the Supervisory Framework Post-Implementation Review Report. OSFI launched its new supervisory framework on April 1st, 2024. It was a major step to strengthen risk-based supervision and enhance transparency. This year's review marks the first post-implementation cycle, ensuring that the supervisory framework remains effective and well-aligned to our changing risk environment. To complete the review, OSFI gathered feedback from over 100 participants. This included financial institutions, the Financial Institutions Supervisory Committee, FISC partners, audit advisory committees, industry associations, and OSFI staff. We analyzed data and trends from the first year of implementation of our framework. Overall, the updated framework improved supervisory effectiveness and communication. Specifically, it enables better risk conversations through clearer supervisory letters and the new overall risk rating, also known as the ORR. And it supports earlier intervention by enhancing OSFI's ability to respond to risks and to take earlier actions. The review identified two key areas for improvement. The first area is related to the weakest link risk rating approach. While the weakest link will remain foundational to the determination of the overall risk rating, the ORR, the methodology will consider circumstances where the ORR could be better than the weakest link to ensure that it accurately reflects the risk to viability of the institution. The second area is clarity and transparency in methodology. OSFI will refine the rating definitions and indicators across the levels 1 to 8, will clarify the risk tolerance and the overall risk rating alignment with intervention stage ratings, and explicitly integrate integrity and security risks into the risk governance and operational resilience assessments. OSFI is developing an action plan to implement these refinements in 2 phases through the end of 2026-27 fiscal year, and we will share more details on December 4th, 2025 at our Industry Day. Next, I want to speak about the insights from the 2025 climate risk returns. The Lessons Learned report summarizes insights from the first set of climate risk return submissions and outlines future amendments. OSFI is also publishing updated returns with the amendments that will be effective in the fall of 2025. The initial submissions marked a significant step forward in building Canada's capacity for climate risk measurement and reporting, showing how institutions approach climate-related data collection, reporting, and risk management. They also revealed key challenges, including data gaps, reliance on proxies, and inconsistent reporting practices, while capturing new physical risk data from banks and insurers that had not been included in prior regulatory returns. These efforts are critical because climate-related risks can have financial impacts that can affect the stability and resilience of Canada's financial system. I'll now hand it back to Theresa to discuss additional rescission or removal of documents from our guidance library.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So I will end today with a few words, as Jacqueline mentioned, on additional rescissions or removal of documents from OSFI's guidance library. As part of our policy modernization that has been going on for about 2 years, we're removing outdated or redundant guidance and related documents from our guidance library. As I mentioned, over the last 18 to 24 months, we undertook the most comprehensive review of regulatory content in OSFI's history. Following guidance rescissions in April 2025, OSFI is rescinding or removing an additional 32 documents from our guidance library by December 31, 2025. In total, OSFI has eliminated 52 documents representing more than 600 pages of content in English and French. This work enhances regulatory efficiency by streamlining our guidance library so expectations are clearer, targeted, and aligned with OSFI's mandate. Et maintenant en français, dans le cadre de la modernisation de nos politiques, nous retirons certains documents dépassés ou redondants de notre répertoire de consignes de BCIF. Au cours des derniers 18-24 mois, nous avons mené l'examen le plus complet de contenu réglementaire d'histoire de BCIF. Après les retraits annoncés en avril 2025, nous éliminons 32 documents supplémentaires d'ici le 31 décembre 2025. Au total, nous aurons retiré 52 documents représentant plus de 600 pages en français et en anglais. Cette démarche améliore l'efficacité réglementaire en simplifiant notre répertoire de consignes, ce qui rend nos attentes plus claires, plus ciblées et mieux alignées avec notre mandat. In closing, I'd like to highlight how today's announcements fit into OSFI's broader strategic direction. Today's releases align with OSFI's ongoing initiative to modernize guidance and reduce regulatory complexity so institutions can focus on managing material risks effectively. These releases also build on priorities identified in OSFI's annual and semi-annual risk outlooks, which outline the most significant risks facing Canada's financial system. The work we are doing, including these quarterly releases, reflects OSFI's commitment to clarity, relevance, and responsiveness, and our actions are based on continuous industry engagement and a commitment to smart, effective oversight. Pour finir, j'aimerais préciser que ce que nous annonçons aujourd'hui est conforme à notre orientation stratégique et vient appuyer notre travail pour moderniser nos lignes directrices et réduire la complexité réglementaire. Dans l'ensemble, cette publication trimestrielle démontre l'engagement de PICIF envers la clarité, la pertinence et la réactivité, et se base sur notre collaboration continue avec l'industrie. Thank you for joining us today. Merci de votre participation aujourd'hui. I will now turn it over to Christina to moderate the Q&A portion.
Thank you, Theresa, and thank you to Jacqueline. A few notes before we go to questions. So we ask that you please keep your questions to the scope of today's quarterly release announcement. We'll do one question and one follow-up. Et vous pouvez poser vos questions dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Also, a reminder that we can't speak to the impact of today's announcement on a specific institution. So if you're a reporter and you want to ask a question, please raise your virtual hand using the Zoom React button. And it's located at the bottom of your screen, and I'll call on you to ask your question. Veuillez lever votre main virtuelle en utilisant le bouton de réaction Zoom au bas de l'écran et je vous nommerai pour poser votre question. Just want to highlight as well that all the material, the news release, the backgrounders were posted to our website. So I encourage you to go and read those. All right, we've got a question from Claire at the Logic. Claire, please go ahead.
Hi, thanks so much. Yeah, I have a question about the suggestion, the draft suggestion, I guess, to lower the risk weight for corporate small and medium-sized enterprise exposures from 75% to 85%. I know that's something that Peter Rutledge talked about, increasing the amount that banks can lend to small business to sort of help stimulate the economy. Is that what this is? Is that directly related to that? Are there any additional measures planned in that regard? Yeah, that's my question.
So I'm happy to take a stab at answering that question. So all the changes that I announced, and there were a number of them related to the CAR guideline for 2027 that will be out for consultation. The changes are being made so that the capital better reflects the risks in each of the components. And there are very targeted changes that could give financial institutions more flexibility to free up capital for investing and for lending. And we believe that the changes support competitiveness while maintaining stability and soundness in the financial institutions.
Okay, and if just one follow-up question. So this is, it's a draft, it's going to go out to consultation. It's sort of like it may or may not actually go into effect, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Just give it another minute here. Again, if you want to ask a question, just please raise your virtual hand using the Zoom React button, and I'll call on you. Juste un petit rappel, si vous voulez poser une question, vous avez seulement besoin de peser sur le bouton de réaction au bas de l'écran Zoom, levez votre main et je vous nommerai. We've got a question from Christine Dobby. Christine, please go ahead.
Hi there. Sorry, I just had a little trouble raising my hand as always. With respect to the changes on the capital adequacy requirements, Could you give a sense of like how big a difference lowering the risk weighting from 85 to 75% could make? Can you give any sense of like what that could actually mean in terms of banks' ability to make loans to businesses?
So it's a good question, but it's one that I'm going to have to take away and seek input from some of our capital, the team that's working on it, and we can respond back through an email.
Okay, thanks. And then just the timing would be November 1st, 2026, if the banks have
Correct.
October 31st year ends, or?
Exactly. And
So
then
for the
January
big banks.
for those that are on a calendar year fiscal year.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christine, and we'll get back to you in writing on your first question.
Do you mind if sorry, I did barge in.
Yeah, go for it, Claire.
Can you copy me on that as well?
Absolutely.
I'm interested in the answer too. Thank you very much.
No problem. Just give it another minute here in case someone has another question. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any more raised hands, so we'll conclude today's briefing. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to the Media Relations inbox and we'll get back to you in writing. Si vous avez d'autres questions, vous pouvez écrire dans notre boîte de courriel aux relations médias et nous vous répondrons par écrit. Merci tout le monde. Passez une très bonne journée. Thank you all very much for attending.